Hey everybody, it's Kyle. I wanted to do a quick lunchtime video today, and because Father's Day is just a couple of days away, I wanted to share a principle my dad taught me when I was really young. And to do that, I'm going to tell you a quick story about my family. So when I was growing up, we were a little bit less fortunate financially. What that meant was that we had cars that never seemed to really run very well. They were constantly breaking down all the time, and my dad wasn't much of a mechanic. And so when they broke down, he really didn't know what to do. And it was never more evident than it was whenever we took family trips. We lived in Dallas, and my family, my dad and my mother, were from down near the coast in an area called Beaumont, Texas, and Port Arthur, Texas. And so once a year, usually during the summertime, we take a family trip down to Beaumont. It's about a 6-hour drive, and it seemed like every stinking time we drove down there, our car would break down. And I remember I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and I had seen the car break down a couple of times on our trip to Beaumont, and we're broken down again on the side of the road. And I remember asking my dad, why do we do this? We know the car's going to break down. Why aren't you upset? Why do we even try this? This is dumb. And my dad said to me something that just at the time I was confused about, but he grinned when he said it. And here's what he said. He said, "Kyle, it's just a trip until something goes wrong. Then it's an adventure." And you know, he was right, because I can remember we drove down there every year from the time I was just really small until I was 17 or 18 years old. And the trips that I remember the most are the trips where we broke down. And I'll give you two real distinct examples. One time we broke down, and me and my brothers, my two older brothers, just kind of looked around for something to do because we're on the side of the road, and we saw this little pond not too far away. Well, one of my older brothers had brought his fishing pole, and so we went over and just started fishing, and he started catching some big old bass. I mean, we could barely pull them up because they were so big. And my dad was over there working on the car. Again, he's not very good at it, probably with a hammer. And we're over there just having a great time, and I remember that more than I remember anything about that trip. Another time we broke down on the side of the road, there was nothing. We were out in the middle of nowhere. But what there was like a farm nearby. And there were some cows probably, hundreds of yards away. A big herd of cows. And I remember my dad walking over to the fence, and he said, "Watch this, boys." And he got his voice real deep, and he gave out this big "meh," like the sound of a cow. And one cow turned around, and he did it again and again and again. And next thing you know, they started coming towards us, probably 100 head of cattle. And before you know it, they're all standing at the fence mooing back at my dad. Now, that may sound silly to you, but those are some of the greatest memories I have of those trips to Beaumont, are breaking down and finding things to do. And so when it comes to our kids that are on the autism spectrum, you know, the way we can apply this principle is pretty easy. I mean, if we just go days and weeks without meltdowns, things can get kind of monotonous. I mean, it's just day-to-day activities until something goes wrong. And then it becomes an adventure, and that's when we have an opportunity to really create experiences we can remember. And I know they may not seem like they're so good at the time, but if we handle ourselves in a way that's productive and helps those kids of ours, we really can turn those into memories that are long-lasting, good memories for us. So the message I want to leave with you today is the message from my dad, who passed away a couple months ago. And it's this: it's just a day-to-day activity. It's just a trip. It's just normal, everyday stuff. until something goes wrong. And then it's an adventure. So I challenge you, when things go wrong, to create adventures and create memories, because those are the ones that stick with us the most. So do that. Have a happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. I sure appreciate what you do. I know it's hard, but your kids deserve you, and they deserve you at your best. And being your best for them is exactly what they need, and the love you give them is what they need from you more than anything. So have a great Father's Day. I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you on Monday. Bye-bye.